Now, once again, Raymond Arroyo.
Welcome back to The World Over. This week at the Vatican, the Pope met with a special council responsible for drafting the working document for that upcoming Synod on the Family. On the same day, a smaller group of bishops and experts met in secret to consider how to advance pastoral innovations at the Synod, including church acceptance of same-sex unions and offering communion to divorced and remarried Catholics. For more on what went on in these meetings, I'm joined from Rome by the Vatican correspondent for the National Catholic Register, Edward Pentin. Edward, thanks for being here.
Good to be with you, Raymond.
Now, Edward, who was invited to attend this secret meeting, and how secret was it exactly?
Okay, it was originally organized by the three heads of the bishops' conferences in France, Switzerland, and Germany. And they invited, I don't know quite how they chose them, but they chose 9 bishops, they chose a selection of theologians and experts, and also quite a large number of media representatives from Germany, Switzerland, Italy, and France. And altogether about 50 people came to this meeting. It wasn't announced, it wasn't advertised in any way, and credit to knowing about this should go to Jean-Marie Genois of Le Figaro, who broke the story on the Friday before it happened, and so we knew it was going to happen. But if we hadn't heard that, nobody would have known that this was going to take place.
Edward, according to your sources, what exactly was the goal of this meeting? What do they hope to achieve?
Well, I mean, their point of view is that what they want to achieve is what they see as a kind of new theology, one that caters more to today's world as they see it, and that deals with people in their problems today. But of course, the way a lot of the church sees it as basically moving away from established teaching, introducing these pastoral innovations, if you like, which actually will end up undermining the church's teaching. And so those are the two perspectives of this meeting, if you like.
Mm-hmm. You wrote that these discussions centered around introducing a theology of love as opposed to a theology of the body. What's the difference?
Yeah, right. Well, the theology of the body, of course, deals with the biological aspects, the procreative, the unitive, and the procreative aspects of human sexuality. This is, if you start talking about theology of love, it becomes rather abstract. So love can be any kind of relationship. You can apply that to any relationship, say a cohabiting couple, a same-sex couple, for example. Then love becomes the center of it rather than the procreative aspect of human sexuality. So it's a rather subtle way of moving away from the Catholic teaching on marriage and human sexuality and bringing in this kind of legitimization of extramarital unions.
We're talking to Edward Pentin, the National Catholic Register's Vatican correspondent. Edward, Cardinal Reinhard Marx is really the driving force here. He was sort of the one orchestrating this secret meeting, if you will. Are Roman officials concerned that such a prominent man, a member of the Pope's Council of Nine and head of the German Bishops' Conference, is seeking to sway or reshape, if you will, this synod?
I think there is a lot of concern. I mean, I haven't heard it myself directly, but I think there is. To be fair, I spoke to his press secretary yesterday. He denied that Cardinal Marx was the main figure behind this, but clearly he had a big role to play. All the press statements were put out by the German Bishops' Conferences, so you know they had a big hand in this. But yes, there is concern about him, but also not just him. I mean, there's various senior figures in the Vatican and in the Church who are pushing this line, which, of course, many people find completely unacceptable.
Yeah. Edward, I recently sat down in an exclusive interview with Cardinal Walter Kasper. Now, he's the main proponent of offering communion to divorced and remarried Catholics. We're going to air the full interview, part 1 of it, next week. Here was his reaction to the referendum in Ireland and some of the ideas advanced by Cardinal Marx. Listen. What do you make of the Irish referendum approving gay marriage, where Archbishop Diarmaid Martin there said the Church needs to find a new language now to engage the young, and this should be a wake-up call?
Of course, the Church is not in favor of homosexual marriage. Bishops in Ireland were very clear about it. But to have a new language is a different thing, because our language, traditional language, is not the content, but the language is no longer really understandable for many young people. And therefore, it's right to say we must find a new language to have access to the young people.
Cardinal Marx recently said that we should have an openness to these relationships, gay relationships. He said, because lifelong fidelity is right and good. How would you react?
Fidelity is right and good, but homosexual practice is a different thing. That's not the same. Well, I do not judge now about other bishops, and I have never spoken about these homosexual problems. When I am asked, I give the answer of the Catechism of the Catholic Church, and I think that's Catholic.
Your reaction, Edward?
Yes, I mean, that's true. I mean, Cardinal Kasper, his issue is a divorced and remarried issue. It's not so much the sexuality issues. So he's absolutely consistent on that. At least as far as I know, he's been consistent on that. I mean, he's had a few controversial things to say about contraception, but that is that's his line, yes. But yeah,
we're going to get into his entire proposal next week. Why is Pope Francis so closely aligned with these German cardinals and bishops, particularly considering the state of the Church in Germany, which is not exactly the most thriving center of faith in the world?
That's right. Yeah, it is a bit of a mystery. That's true. I think a lot of it does have to do with the wealth of the German Church and the fact that they do hold a lot of the cards and they can pull a few strings, and they have quite a considerable influence here. So there is that, but also the history of the German Church as well. I mean, you've had the famous German theologians. They've always been very influential in the Church, certainly since the Council. And so I think that sort of heritage, if you like, has continued. But yeah, they do hold a lot of sway. And Cardinal Marx is interesting because he originally was, a lot of people were very happy about his appointment. You know, Orthodox Catholics were very happy that he was made Archbishop of Munich. But in the last couple of years, he's become very much a kind of flag bearer of the sort of progressive wing, and that's surprised people. But he's sort of come out of the shadows, if you like, and is starting to promote all these things in a very strong way.
Yeah, let's turn for a moment to the Eco-Encyclical that is about to come out. The Pope is set to release it any day now. We heard that an earlier text had been scrapped and rewritten following that Vatican UN summit on climate change earlier this month. What are you hearing from your sources?
I think there is something to that. I mean, I did get a comment from Father Lombardi. He said that there's no delay. But originally, he did say it would come out between February and April. I asked him that back in, I think, the end of last year, or the beginning of this year. And now, of course, it's now been extended to June, probably. So there has been a delay. But as Father Lombardi said, he's never predicted an exact date. But what I've heard is that, from quite well-informed sources connected with the encyclical, that it won't be as damaging, perhaps, as some people might fear, in terms of perhaps endorsing an exact science. Apparently he's
you don't think he's going to endorse this idea that climate change is caused by human activity?
That's what they say. I mean, whether it's exactly that, I don't know, but they're saying he's going to stand back a little bit from that. But other people are very concerned, of course, about the population control element to this, that it's being used as a mechanism to enforce population control. And the Pope is getting too close to these people, and there's people want him to back off. And they say that if he doesn't say something in the encyclical to that effect, to try and distance himself from that movement, then it'll be trumpeted by that movement as being, you know, a great revolutionary encyclical, and they'll try and co-opt it, probably. So there's that concern that he does say that explicitly in the document somewhere.
Before I let you go, Edward, your thinking on what we might be looking at come October with this synod. Is this going to be a major grudge match, essentially, between the progressives and more traditionally minded cardinals and bishops, warring it out over these, what is settled teaching, to my eye at least?
Well, that goes back to something I wanted to say earlier, actually, Raymond, which is the interesting thing about this secret meeting is that, yes, it was secret, and that's quite a good thing in the sense that the Pope wanted the Synod to be a protected space. He didn't want it to get out into the public and have a lot of polemics. But the interesting thing about this meeting is that, yes, it was secret, but then they invited something like, I can't remember, eight journalists from these different countries. And most of them didn't report on the meeting. So the big question is, why were they there? Now, if these journalists were there to promote this outside of that forum, then they're going completely against the Pope's will. And that's what's very interesting about this, because, you know, they weren't just there to report on it, they were there to promote this agenda. And so I think we will see, leading up to the Synod and during the Synod probably, these certain groups, these people promoting this new line, if you like, and then you'll get the counter reaction from the others. So there will be that battle, I think, going on, which is not what the Pope wanted, but these people seem to want to go ahead with this, despite the Pope, you know, in the face of the Pope's will, contrary to the Pope's will.
Edward Pentin, thank you so much for your insight. Of course, your columns and blog are mandatory reading. You can find them all at National Catholic Register's website, ncregister.com. Edward Pentin, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Raymond. Thank you.